I mean, in the Leafs' defense, the Canucks had every tactical advantage, right?
Well, so for anybody that doesn't know, going into this game, what challenges did the Canucks face?
Guys were coming off of illnesses. They were coming off of injuries. Guys are playing hurt. Quinn Hughes is playing hurt, and he was probably the best player on the ice. Their two stars don't like each other and have been involved in trade rumors for months that have been steadily heating up. They've been losing a lot of games recently, so many games that they are actually out of a playoff spot right now as we speak. They played 3 games in 4 nights. They did not look good during those 3 games in 4 nights. They were on the second half of a back-to-back against the rested Leafs. They were the road team. The Leafs were the home team, and the Canucks did not land in Toronto until approximately 1 p.m. In the afternoon because they had flight issues. So that probably screwed with their game day nap. I don't believe they got on the ice until warm-up. The Leafs had every fathomable advantage you could want heading into this game and got shut out on home ice, and it's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. I don't give a damn about the 5 straight wins. Then you get smacked by Carolina, blow a 2-0 lead. This is a game you have to win nearly every time. I know it's professional sports, and you can't win every single time. You need to at least look like the better team in a loss. It needs to at least be a tight game. They couldn't make a pass. They couldn't put a shot through traffic.
The shots were incredibly low in this one. Even the Canucks didn't have a lot of shots.
The fact anyone defended them after that game, like actual gasp, clutching pearls, I feel sick for you.
Well, have you considered that you and the people who are upset about the Leafs' effort in that game, have you considered that you're just simply not being positive enough?
I'm going to become the Joker. I'm actually going to...
What if you could just be... What if you're just not a real fan?
What if the Leafs...
For daring to criticize the team that you cheer for and watch and devote so much time to?
What if the Leafs have a complete absence of psychopaths? You need psychos. You need insane people. You, like what I said about Matthew Tkachuk in that video is if he saw you at the side of the road with a flat tire, he'd pull over, get out of his car, and pop your other 3 and then drive off. You need to have a bloodlust in this league. I'll give you a great example that I didn't bring up in the LFR. Are the Flyers good? Would you call them good?
I'd call them mid.
Maybe even on the lower side.
Lower middle.
Mid. They might make
lower
it.
Middle class.
They might make it. If they had some goaltending, maybe they'd make it.
Yeah. I mean, especially the bottom of the East right now, it's not great. So
you give them Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah.
I bet they make the playoffs.
You take back that Fedotov contract and you do something else, literally anything else.
You know, they could do it. Anyway, the reason I bring up the Flyers, how many games are they going to lose this year? Like somewhere in the neighborhood
35?
of 35, like regulation and then overtime and all that. So, probably somewhere in the 40s, right? You're not going to win every game. Ducks come to town. Cutter go take.
We're going to get into that, so don't go too far into it.
I'm not going to go too far into it. But everything surrounding that game, the atmosphere from puck drop is a Metallica concert. It is John Tavares returning to Long Island.
Yeah.
And the fans understanding the moment, and the team understanding the moment, and the Leafs start their backup goalie. I'll never forgive Babcock. Never. The Ducks, the fans, everyone in that building wearing orange except for the Ducks. Oh, sorry, the Flyers and the fans, not the Ducks. Every Flyer and Flyers fan understood the assignment for that game. We're not losing this fucking game. We're going to run them out of the building, make them regret ever taking up the sport. Travis Konechny looked at Cutter Gauthier, said, I'll fucking fight you.
I told you not to get too deep.
I'm not going too deep. He said all that. What does he do? It's 12 minutes of ice time, no shots on goal. He got 4 assists, and they won 6-0. Because you have to, A love of blood needs to be part of your palate. If you are going to be successful, if you are going to be relevant, if you are going to be worth watching in this league, the Leafs don't have it.
So I thought the dichotomy between what the new guys said, the I just got here guys, and the guy that's been here forever was interesting. And
I didn't bring that up in the video.
And I have a theory. Well, it's because you're a wimp. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that.
But, and Jesse, you were at these scrums. We're going to play the Mitch Marner thing in a second, but the Tanev quote that made the rounds was not good enough. They outworked us. That's why they won. Berube said a bunch of things, but he also said we need more life and energy, which I think we can all agree with, right?
Yeah.
These are things that were said.
Yes.
And listen, to satisfy me and my bloodlust, Matthews, Marner, Riley, and Tanev all came out and talked. So those are leaders on the team. That's great. That's fantastic.
Good.
Now, the thing that bothered people was the quote in text from Mitch Marner. We have the video. And
everybody has the video too. Like
everybody has the video.
But access, this is just on YouTube.
No, it's exclusive
we have
to us.
obtained
It's only our video, Jesse.
We
only
got
us.
CCTV footage.
You can't watch this. You're not special enough, except for with us. No, this is on the Leafs YouTube channel, but it's the first minute of the scrum. That is all we need. Press play, please.
We good? Okay.
Mitch, what made it hard to generate offense tonight?
They did a good job around their net. Didn't create many opportunities. Power play's got to be way better. Create more offense for our team.
What was missing on the power play tonight?
Christmas. We weren't just making easy plays. They're breaking them up. We got to do a better job getting pucks around that net. That's how we score the last game. So just got to do a better job of finding lanes to get pucks to net and bodies there.
How would you judge the effort level tonight on your guys' part?
I liked it. I mean, I thought we played well. I really did. I think just last couple of games we've been giving up plays to teams that aren't missing on them. So, I thought we were a good 5-man tight in our zone. I thought we went to the neutral zone as a unit. I think when we didn't do that, that's when breakdowns happened, and they had a lot of offense off it. And that's something that we talked about that we need to be better at. And we'll look at it going forward and fix it.
So that's it. So you know what? Most of what he said there is true. I think they played a somewhat good defensive game, right? Mm-hmm. They did go to the neutral zone together, right? Which is something that this team many times last year did not. Mm-hmm. But the thing that sticks out, obviously to you and obviously to everybody, and Jesse, I'm going to go to you first on this because I know Steve is ready to jump on it. But I want to go to Jesse on this because you were there.
Yeah.
Now, what was your reaction hearing that with a microphone in his face?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because last Friday, last Wednesday, when we did like half an hour on like, hey, we got credentials now, how does that feel and all that stuff, and I talked about I'm there now and I'm standing next to these guys, so there's like you feel the energy. It's different watching something through the screen and you're around them, so you get a perspective there. And with Mitch Marner at the beginning there, you see where he says we're good. Is because he was staying there for a little bit as they let in the reporters into the locker room a little late. So he's standing there with the cameras while we're waiting for everybody to get there and then start asking him questions. And you could sense that he doesn't take losing well, because on nights when they're having fun and they win the game and Mitch has a good night, there's a bubbly energy to him. He's sometimes he's singing a tune on his way to the scrum or out of it, and he's having fun with all the guys there, and you can see it in the locker room. And then on nights like this, you get answers that are that you know that he's not satisfied with having to be there right now. You know that he's being a little impatient because he's not happy. And at times I just don't know if he takes losing well. And I think you can sense that there, and you can definitely just feel it in his demeanor after losses when it's clear that the Leafs got outplayed.
It's very shutdowny. It's very I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Which is fine. I don't want a great player to take losing well.
No,
I'm okay with that.
You know what? One of the things that frustrates me about this group is sometimes we talk about them like last night's game is the only one that's ever happened. And so many guys in this team, so many important guys in this team have been here so long that we're able to draw from those things. And I actually found that quote fascinating as an insight into how he views the game. So I think this guy is, in a lot of respects, a coach's dream, because I'm willing to take Marner's word for it on that one, that they were executing well. Or at very least, his game or his line, whenever it was on the ice, I'm willing to take his assessment. We were executing well. We were doing this. We were doing that. We were doing that. Because I think when it comes to hockey, he's extremely literal. I think back to Stop Fucking Crying, Bro. Just shoot it. Right? So what that was, if I'm not mistaken, with Willie and Mitch and Austin, is they had the puck in the offensive zone against the Bruins. The play breaks down a little, and Mitch was upset when he got to the bench because, if I'm not mistaken, Willie and Austin, or one of them, didn't do what the plan was. Hey, we talked about this. We have our system. Here's where you're all supposed to be. And at least one of you wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Mitch and Austin were arguing about. And Willie's like, just shoot it. Just shoot it. Like, sometimes stuff breaks down and it doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. And that's why Mitch was frustrated and he threw his gloves and everything. I believe him when he's like, no. Like, I believe his viewing of the game. I believe that he genuinely believes that. And he's not just being pouty.
Because on the defensive side of things, guys, the Leafs did limit them to 18 or 19 shots or whatever it was. It was like not a high shot count. It was not high event, but they didn't have
to do much.
Well, and the first goal, which turned out to be the game winner, there's not much many goalies can do about that. So
there's 2 deflections.
But where they didn't seem to execute was in the offensive zone. So through 2 zones, he's right. He's right.
Yeah, but that's not what I want to hear at that moment, and Mitch should be aware of that. And you said,
he's
like,
not. He's not.
You said I'm happy that guys aren't happy with losing, right? But there's a way to project that, and you can have a piss poor attitude about things, or you can have, I think, what Tanev's perspective on it, where he's unhappy in a different way than Mitch, and that's what you want out of the leaders of your team.
I think he tries to take the emotion out of his answers, and I think he tries to take the emotion out of his game, because I think when Mitch plays with emotion, he plays poorly.
Which emotion, though? I think when he plays with joy.
When he plays with joy.
But last I noticed, I said to, hand to God, said to my wife, I'm like, Mitch is pissed tonight. I don't know what's wrong. But you can tell when you watch players enough when they're not having the best day. Whatever reason. You could be
things weren't working offensively.
Yes. And you could tell there was frustration on the bench. And that, by the way, is human and totally okay.
It's fine.
But I think when you talk about this quote, because of course it gets pulled out and then it gets retweeted and then people start piling on or whatever. And for whatever reason, if people pile on Austin or people pile on Willie or even John Tavares, it's fine. When it's Mitch Marner, it's, well, the person piling on him is probably a bad person. I don't know where it came from with that, but I think Jesse and Steve in different ways are making a similar point, which is you got to know your intended audience here is not going to want to hear that. And that is a pretty easy misstep to avoid. You want to talk to your assistant coach on offense about, hey, I thought we moved well through these 2 zones. We just couldn't execute on this one. It's like, well, okay.
He's trying to be positive.
In that moment, like, it's your job to talk about how poor you guys were offensively and not the success you had defensively, because that's where you lost the game. Like, we're trying to, we ask you, like, hey, how do you guys perform? It's that part where it's lost, and we're talking about a loss here. Like, we don't care that the other parts of the zone.
Or make yourself the lightning rod. Like you.
Well, he doesn't need to be the lightning rod.
No. Well, no. You know what? I don't give a shit. You make $11 million and you wear a letter. Be a lightning rod for the boys. Like what are you talking about? I don't know if he needs that. Like that. Again. Do you understand the industry you work in?
But in theory, that works. Yes, but I think we've seen very clearly with this player that does affect his game.
But I think it's real easy, and I think people would respect it. Like, damn, I really followed up a game where I was -6 by getting shut out at home.
Yes, and
And-
that is the context of the situation that really matters.
That is the yes.
And
yes,
by the way,
that's the context that we're facing right now. You won 5 straight. Great. What have you done for
and
me lately?
they were -1 on the first shift
right. Yeah.
after coming off a -6, -5 game.
And I'm not pinning it on him or anything. The Riley conversation's getting loud.
I mean,
I didn't understand people putting that game on Hildeby.
oh
He
no,
should-
Like, dude, you
He should have had at least one.
I would say the
target.
third goal.
It was a great play by Quinn Hughes. He
Yes.
was doing a lot of dancing, and then to find Sherwood and him have that shot, you got to save it.
The other guy had a shutout. Other guy had a shutout.
It's the Blue Jays thing where it's like, who cares about how their pitching is, because if they score 0 runs,
Yeah.
the pitching staff allowed 2, or if they allowed 10, the game's still the same if
Yes.
you didn't score any runs.
The
Same
Leafs-
same thing with the Leafs.
Leafs didn't earn the right to blame that game on Hildeby.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Hildeby hasn't been great. I think he's been okay.
Come see, come
Been
saw.
okay. Yeah.
A lot of Gustafson shutouts,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, he played well except for the 1 or 2 terrible goals he allowed.
Yeah, I think
Like,
he's
just-
sitting in an 880 so far, and there's been a
third
lot
stringer.
of early goals. But yes, he's supposed to be the third string.
There's some
goalie.
$6 million goalies who aren't giving you those numbers.
You can argue that the management here looked at him as the 4th string because they were hoping Matt Murray would have been able to step up and be the 3rd string goalie. So, you can't put this blame on Hildeby. It's on the guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It was a bit tone deaf, but I also appreciate his insight. Like, it's one of those weird things. I think this guy, in terms of hockey IQ, people always talk about hockey IQ, is a savant. Like, he's brilliant. And I think we're getting a glimpse into his brilliant mind with that clip. But in terms of, I don't want to say emotional intelligence because that seems harsh. That's not really what I'm looking for. He's definitely not reading the room, though.
Yeah.
He's not
And
reading the room at all.
Does that make, and this is where I want to bring it, does that make a couple of, let's say it, bad losses
Yeah.
feel a little bit worse, right? Like the thing about the thing that I always respected about Matt Sundin or even like Lou Lamoriello or some of these guys that are perfect for dealing with the media, even Willie's good at it too, which is, I'm going to say a bunch of sentences and nothing's going to mean anything. And I think, we ask for players to be honest. And I think being honest, as with anything in media or social media, requires some talent and some tricks. You can't be 100% honest. You can't pull people behind the curtain when their emotions are at their height. Now,
It's a skill.
I feel like that unfairly put a lot of stuff onto Mitch during that game.
Yes.
One of the things that I saw, and I wanted to know what you guys
The
thought
whole
about
team,
this.
man, like-
Well, it's the whole team, but I look at the first line, and Matthew Nyes has 2 games. Games where he's dominant and games where he's completely fucking invisible. And I need Matthew Nyes. If Matthew Nyes' agent was in Darren Drager's ear at the beginning of the season. And unironically, Drager said the Leafs cannot afford to put him on an 8-year contract. Can't afford it. It'll be too much. They don't have the cap room. He said that on TSN. And Matthew Nyes at the beginning of the season was a monster. Absolute monster.
He was.
And we were talking about, it's like, it's got, and Dregs was like, it's got to be a bridge deal. They're not going to be able to afford the longer term one. It's just too much money, whatever. And I look at it now and I go, I don't think so. Here's what I want Matthew Nyes to avoid.
Okay.
Okay. Let me finish this and then, and Leaf fans are not going to like this, but this is what we look at. Okay. So I'm going to give you a guy that's not going to make you happy. Josh Anderson. You've got to avoid being Josh Anderson.
Or signing him.
You got to avoid signing Josh Anderson. Matthew Nyes is a different person than Josh Anderson. Josh Anderson has a different agent than Matthew Nyes.
Matthew Nyes is very young.
Very young. However, you're playing with the top 2 guys on this team in theory. Now, I don't love them together. I've been on the record saying that I don't love Matthews and Marner together. I don't.
They
I
made
think-
changes today,
I
and
think-
it wasn't what you thought it would be.
I think they play better separately most of the time.
Most of the time.
But they want to play together. They're the two highest paid players, whatever, or somewhat highest paid players.
I think against lesser opponents, they're great, and against good opponents, they can't play together.